Chris Bergen from the Bergie Palace in just a moment. 888-898-2525 is the number for you here on Sports Talk. It's great to have you with us. The college football world is just out of control. It is just absolutely insane. By the way, the Gamecocks got a commitment today from 2025 receiver Jalen Sellers out of South Florence, the brother of Lenora Sellers, but a good player in his own right. Unfortunately, got hurt early this season in the Hartsville game. I think it was a knee, and he's out for the rest of the season. But he still has next year in high school to recover, and then he'll join the Gamecocks. So that was some good news for Shane Beamer, and they needed some good news because when you're 2-5, what else can you pump up besides getting a commitment? That's maybe one of the ways to win the day with your fan base for a little while. They're going to go to Texas A&M Saturday, and they're 14.5, maybe 15-point underdogs. And I can't do it. I cannot pick the Gamecocks, obviously not to win. I can't even pick them to cover, so to speak, the 15. So I got to roll with Texas A&M winning this one. 2 weeks to get ready. Quarterback who's pretty good in Max Johnson, some tremendous talent. But the thing about them is their defense is gnarly. Top 10 defense. Great. Boy, I tell you what, the Gamecocks have given up 30 sacks so far this season. A&M has got 29 sacks. I think they lead the country in sacks. I hope they got extra padding for Spencer Rattler because he's going to need it, I have a feeling. This has got, with the way the Gamecock offensive line is, you realize they haven't put the same five in the same positions in consecutive games out there all season long. That is not a good sign for your offense. And I got a feeling this could be a very long day. Pretty lost out there of late, and they're facing a good offensive team. And Texas A&M has some dynamic weapons on offense. Anaya Smith is one of the most dangerous. They played one of the most dangerous receivers in the country last week in Luther Burden, and you saw what he did on a 42-yard touchdown catch. Now they're going to be facing Anaya Smith, who it seems like he's played the Gamecocks for 10 years. This will actually be his fourth game against the Gamecocks. He missed it last year because of an injury, but in his career against the Gamecocks, he's got 8 catches and a 95-yard punt return for a touchdown that turned a game in Texas A&M a few years ago. So they have got their work cut out for them. Lose, and you're 2-6 coming home for the month of November. And I would imagine that Jacksonville State game will draw flies for a noon kickoff in Columbia with a 2-6 Gamecock team and the prospects of actually losing to Jacksonville State. Mm-hmm. Don't laugh, because that is certainly on the table. And I think all your bandwagoners will be jumping ship here pretty soon if the Gamecocks don't go out there and win. So, and I don't foresee that happening. Clemson heading up to NC State. By the way, I'll be at Texas A&M. Pat will be going to NC State. Clemson going to NC State. Got to give the Tigers a chance here. I mean, let's face it. Let's be real. They could have won every game that they've lost. That's not a lie. Dabo says that repeatedly. That's not a lie. That's a fact. They could have won every game that they lost, but they did not. So that is on them for losing those games. If they put it all together, they don't turn the football over, play the defense that they are capable of playing, throw the ball the way they can throw it, get the running game going some. This is not a great NC State team that's gone to its second-string quarterback because the transfer, Brennan Armstrong, was throwing too many interceptions. So they've gone to the backup quarterback. And he's a freshman. So this should be a Clemson win on Saturday for the old textile trophy, the Textile Bowl trophy. So I would look for Clemson to put this in the win column and then come home to play Notre Dame. And that game should have some energy for everybody concerned. And Chris will be tucked away at Conway on Saturday. Marshall coming to town with all their fans coming down from the mountains to enjoy a weekend at the beach.
Yes, they will. And evidently, folks in West Virginia just love Myrtle Beach. They've sort of adopted that as their second home. So I anticipate a big crowd of Thundering Herd fans coming down, and they've got to feel pretty good about themselves, though their top running back has been dinged up some. Not sure about his availability, and we all know, we touched on it last night, the status of Grayson McCall. Probably not going to play this weekend. Don't know when they might get him back if he doesn't play this weekend. So a lot of ups. Questions up in the air for the Chanticleers heading into this weekend. Marshall, too. And your point about the Gamecocks and Texas A&M, Phil, and we talked a little bit about it the other night, but you look at what Texas A&M has done defensively, not just the sacks and their tackles for loss. They are fifth in the SEC in yards before contact average, about 2 yards per game. In terms of the rushing game, or 2 yards per carry, I should say. So if you take away, you already know going in it's going to be hard to run the football because Carolina hasn't run it at all this season. Now you go up against a team that's probably not going to let you run it at all. I mean, how many times does Spencer Rattler throw it on Saturday? I mean, is he going to be in upwards of 50, 60 pass attempts if they get that many possessions? I just don't see any other way they can possibly try and move the football against A&M, and then you put him in major, major peril, having to drop back to pass that many times.
Yeah, I would think that the Gamecocks are going to have to throw it a lot. Chuck Reedy said last night on Chalk Talk, from what he was told, Xavier Legette had been in concussion protocol, but he was at practice yesterday, and they were expecting him, according to his information, expecting him to play Saturday. So that would certainly be a boost for South Carolina to get him back healthy, keep him off the kickoff return team, even though last year in their win, he took one back 100 yards. And you'd like to have that. Yeah, you'd like to have that. But the Gamecocks also, here's the other thing. They also produced turnovers last year. They produced 2 fumbles that led to 9 points off those turnovers. In a 1-touchdown game, that was huge. But the Gamecocks are not creating turnovers this year. They've got 7, but 6 of those are interceptions. They're not creating any fumble turnovers. And that is what Clayton White is emphasizing with his team. When you're tackling a guy and you're coming in to assist, tackle the football. Try and pull the football away. Try and create that fumble turnover and see if you can make something happen. But they've not been able to do that so far this season. So that kind of sets the stage for those teams. Coming up in just a little bit, Mike Morgan will be here. Mike will be with us at 6:20 tonight, a little bit early because he's up in Kentucky for some meetings. So he'll be with us at 6:20. And also tonight, we've got Will and the Thrill at 7:35. Ben Portnoy at 6:35 with the Port Authority. And Furman coach Clay Hendricks joins us at 7:05 to talk about his third-ranked FCS team, which is having a great year with Tyler Huff at quarterback, a really good running game, very good receivers, an excellent defense. They've got it all going for them right now. And they're undefeated against FCS competition. Their only loss was that competitive loss to South Carolina in Columbia. So that's what we have for you tonight, plus recruiting. And the phone number is 888-898-2525. Now, Shane Beamer is doing his calling show as we speak. And he just commented on the dismissal of Xavier McLeod. Said he was dismissed, will help him with his future. It just won't be at Carolina, from David Cloninger, who has quoted Beamer on that. We had a little bit of updated information for us this afternoon on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. So let me bring that up. I know there's been a lot of different reporting on this story, but we had a little something as well this afternoon from a source. And just for some background, the source told us that last week, McLeod approached Beamer about redshirting this year. According to the source, Beamer told McLeod he would love to be able to do that for him and a few other freshmen, but the situation within the team would not allow him to do that.
Right.
Beamer emphasized to McLeod that the team comes first over a single player. When McLeod did not show up to travel with the team to Missouri, Beamer contacted him and set up a meeting for this week. At the meeting, Beamer again shared his position with McLeod that decisions are based on what's best for the team and not an individual, and McLeod did not agree. Beamer then suggested to McLeod it may be time for him to move on to another program. According to the source, Beamer found it unacceptable for a player to place his own wishes ahead of what the coach viewed as best for the team at that time. So here we go. First of all, you've got a coach making a decision for a team versus a player making a decision for himself. Now, from a player standpoint, this is where the beauty of the transfer portal, John, comes in. You've run up against a loggerhead here as you see it. You want one thing, the head coach wants another. All you got to do is say sayonara and put your name in the transfer portal, John, and hope that somebody picks you up. No guarantee, Is he a talented kid? Is he as good as people made him out to be? Played in 4 games, had 1 tackle, 1 interception. But he wanted a red shirt because maybe he felt like he wasn't big enough, strong enough, good enough to play right now on the interior of an SEC defensive line. Can't blame him. You can't blame the kid for thinking about that. But then again, a coach has to think about the here and now, and if he needs help and he has to play a player beyond the 4 games because they're already thin on a particular position and they need that help, well, then you can understand why a coach would say, no, I can't redshirt you this year. We need you to play. We need you to play. So, I mean, I can see a little bit both ways. I can't see it a little bit both ways here, but you know what? I'm always for the team first myself.
Exactly.
So I kind of lean that way.
And he's lucky he got the meeting when he didn't show up for the team travel since he was on the roster to travel to Missouri and he didn't show up. That would have been it for me. But that being said, I mean, there's still a possibility he could redshirt next year if that's such a big deal for him. I'm stunned that any player right now in college athletics across the board would go to a coach and say, I want to redshirt. Because I just don't see the value in redshirting anymore, especially as you pointed out with the transfer portal, John, and players moving left, right, and yon and wanting to get to the NFL as quickly as you can. Who's staying 5 years in college anymore, especially at the same program? I mean, I just don't get it. And all he had to do was look. And I hate to blame all of this on Xavier McLeod because there's, truth on both sides, and the actual truth is somewhere in the middle. But if he wanted to look at a true team player, he's got several on his roster and in his locker room with him. Look at, DeCarrion Joyner. He wanted to be a starting quarterback at South Carolina the entire time he's been there. Mm-hmm. He's played virtually every position on the offensive side and done it with aplomb and handled his business extremely well. He is a model of what you want in a teammate. He's taken coaching. He's done what's been best for the team, opposed to doing what he felt was best for himself. Luke Doty's another example of that. And to see a guy who didn't even want to show up because he wasn't getting his way and wanted a red shirt, and I'm not even going to bother to show up for the flight to Missouri. He's lucky Beamer got a meeting with him at all.
Yeah, excellent point. He could have just said, the hell with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I made my decision. See you later. Mm-hmm. And I go back and I remind people this is why recruiting rankings and the euphoria over a commitment or a recruiting class, yeah, I understand there's reason for it when you get certain players and you put certain classes together, but you can't always take it to the bank. And it's not always going to work out with every player in your program. And that's why developing players within your program, getting good players who buy in and want to be a part of your program and developing those players over a 2, 3, 4 year period, that's how you build a rock solid program. And I'm not going to say that, one bad situation here takes away from an entire recruiting class or anything like that. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Though that recruiting class has taken some hits because he's gone and Rames is gone and the safety is gone from that class, because of what happened back in January. So they've already had some departures. And let's face it, there will be others who will transfer out.
Oh, sure.
No matter what kind of picture you want to paint about lovey-dovey and all that, not just in South Carolina, but everywhere. There's going to be players leaving again once the season is over, once the so-called free agent market in college football opens up. So that one's been put to bed. Beamer has talked about it on his show. Sure, we're somebody. I guess nobody thought about it. And you know what? I promise you the next time at a press conference And nobody thought to ask about it on Saturday when he said coach's decision. The follow-up should have been, well, is he still on the team? Of course, I guess Saturday he was still on the team, technically speaking. But I promise you, next time I'm sitting there and something like that comes up, I'm going to get to as far to the bottom of it as I can while I have the opportunity. I was at Clemson on Tuesday, and so we didn't get a chance to follow. Well, and I'm not even sure I would have thought about it. It might have been one of those things that people just didn't think about it on Tuesday.
And why would you?
Yeah.
If he didn't travel or whatever the case may be, it's pretty much coach's decision. That usually ends any discussion. It would be a situation where if he didn't show up for the next couple of weeks, then you might ask, hey, by the way, what's up with Xavier McLeod?
Yeah.
But 2 days after he didn't travel to Missouri, I'm not sure that would have been top of mind in terms of questions from our end.
All right, let's get to Mike Morgan here to kick things off on Sports Talk. We'll jump into some other things coming up in just a moment. It is time for another session of Morgan on the Move with us here on Sports Talk, starring the one and only Mike Morgan, and brought to you by Brian Spencer of Palmetto Medicare. Brian started Palmetto Medicare in 2005, and for nearly 20 years, he's become the one to trust with the all-important decision of who will handle your Medicare benefits. Brian is your guy, and he can be reached with one phone call at 803-960-9484, and that consultation is free. 803-960-9484. Visit the website, palmetto-medicare.com. That's palmetto-medicare.com.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. No hassles, no all-day runarounds, no ridiculous add-on stickers. At Love Chevy, buying a car is fun. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
And now to welcome in Mike Morgan, who has more commercial time during his segment than we actually have talk time. Good evening, Mike. How are you?
Good evening. We have as much talk time as you want to carve out. What are we preempting tonight? Is it the East Coast Hockey League report? Are we giving the NASCAR qualifying standings 40-42? Where are we today?
Mike, I detect a bit of cynicism about the programming on Sports Talk.
You know I love Sports Talk. I'm a proud member of the family. I go way back with this powerhouse, this juggernaut that is the Phil Kornblut Network.
There you go. Michigan. What do you think of this mess that kind of grows by the hour as they are investigating the heck out of this thing? At first, I kind of laughed at it and said, this is silly, but this thing has gotten very serious.
I think we all thought when we first heard the reports of it, I think it was last Thursday, when Ross Dellinger does an outstanding job. I forget where Ross is at now. He was at Yahoo. He moved somewhere else. Anyway,
yeah.
I think we all thought it was kind of a big nothing burger when we first heard, they're stealing signs like everybody else in college football does, or at least attempts to do. This is different, though. This is when you are hiring we can call him an analyst, but basically you're using an analyst as a spy, and you're recording signals at every game that he attends, and you have video evidence that that's what he's doing, and then you have him on the sideline right next to Harbaugh and the coordinators during games. That's pretty legit. Now, with all that being said, do I think much is going to happen in the way of, for example, forfeiting games? No. Preventing Michigan from attempting to win a national title this year? No. I don't think the Big Ten or the NCAA has the muscle to do that. But make no mistake about it. It's not a nothing burger. It's a something burger, and it's a pretty bad look for a guy who's already got one of the most talented rosters in college football and still feels the need to go this route.
And has already been on the sidelines for 3 games this year for other transgressions.
Yeah, I know it, going back to COVID. Look, I think Jim is clearly of the mindset that he gives 0 Fs about what the rules are. He just does it. That's just, the way he looks at it, look, they already came close to running me out of this job one time. They cut my pay, and then I had to get my raise back when I had him over the barrel. And now I've got a chance to beat Ohio State 3 years in a row. I've been to a playoff a couple of times. And if you want to fire me, go right at it. I'll take an NFL job for $10 million. So, like I said, that's what you call leverage, and that's what you call blank you money. And he's got both of it right now.
Yes, he does. Visiting with Mike Morgan for a couple more minutes. Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk. We got football, of course, big this weekend, but basketball is here. SEC Media Days last week, ACC Media Days today. Clemson finished 5th in the preseason poll by the ACC. That's pretty respectable for the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm actually in Lexington as we speak, getting ready to call a Kentucky game tomorrow night. The ACC poll is a little more, dare I say, unpredictable than the SEC poll. Like, I kind of expected what I saw out of the SEC poll. And the top of the ACC poll is a lot of usual suspects. But I think that, there's enough veterans coming back. The people that vote on those polls know some of the proven commodities that Coach Brownell has coming back from last season. So the other thing is, quite honestly, the ACC has not been in a terribly deep league the last few years. And I'm not sure if it's going to be terribly deep this year. I really, if I was in the ACC office, I don't know if I'd be concerned, but I'd certainly want to take note of the fact that all of a sudden you've got other conferences that are getting more teams in the big dance every year. Why is that? What is happening? What's going on? What's going on in recruiting? Is the exposure where it needs to be? I think there's a number of questions that are being asked about that. I mean, the SEC had 8 teams go to the field last year. They're expected to get 8 or 9 again this year.
What are your expectations from Kentucky tomorrow night, since you'll see them in person?
It's when you hear Cal's got the number 1 recruiting class, you're like, okay, well, what else is new? Sun's going to rise tomorrow, and I'm going to pay taxes and eventually die. But not all number 1 classes are built the same. This is the kind of class that's like next level good. Quite frankly, I think some of the other ones were a little bit overrated. This one is not. This reminds me almost of like the De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk crop of guards. They've got 3 7-footers. They've got wings. They've got a little bit of everything. And they also have Reeves coming back, who was a 40% three-point shooter a year ago. So, it always comes down to how do they gel for Cal. And the last few years, they haven't gelled well enough. I mean, they haven't been think about this. They haven't been to the Sweet 16 since 2019. This is Kentucky we're talking about. So there's a lot of people around here that are like, hey, Cal, we get it. You got 3 dozen players in the NBA. We want to see results in March. And that all starts with these games, these exhibition games and these out-of-conference games in the early part of the season to make sure that they can gel, because they are always, if not the youngest, one of the youngest teams in college basketball, and this year will be no different, with 8 newcomers, 7 of them freshmen.
Yeah, revolving door there, but again, he just replaces one standout guy with another when they move on to whatever league they go to next after they hang around Kentucky for a short time. Mike, we thank you very much. Where will the game be tomorrow night where you can be seen?
SEC Network tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, little appetizer for a big football game that'll also take place here on Saturday, Kentucky playing Tennessee.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, my friend, thank you.
You got it. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Mike Morgan up in the Bluegrass State. Appreciate him being with us tonight on Sports Talk. Coming up after the break, Ben Portnoy joins us with the Port Authority. He's got some great stuff going on. We'll talk about that. Recruiting is coming up. We'll take some phone calls, too, so we'll be back after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear and comfy with a low overnight of 55. Tomorrow, much like today, with a mix of sunshine and clouds. A high climbing up to about 82. For the weekend, tremendous. Mid-80s is our highs. Nothing but sunshine. And that continues through Monday. While on Tuesday, we start to cool back down for Halloween. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
This is Ian with AccuClean. With the holiday season and gatherings with friends and family quickly approaching, now is the perfect time to get your carpets, rugs, and upholstery cleaned. AccuClean is a veteran-owned and local carpet cleaning company located in the Midlands for over 20 years. Call AccuClean today at 803-957-1202 to make sure your carpets are refreshed this holiday season. Once again, that's AccuClean at 803-957-1202. We hope to see you soon.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the manhunt continues for 40-year-old Robert Card, suspected in the mass shootings at two Lewiston, Maine establishments that killed at least 18 people. A U.S. official told the Associated Press that Card was taken by police for a mental evaluation in July after he was acting erratically during training. Russia's deadly attack on a beloved pizzeria in eastern Ukraine in June was painful for residents. The rubble remains in Kramatorsk as a reminder of the risk for businesses so close to the front lines. But many other shops and restaurants have defied the threat and reopened in recent months. The city council estimates that the number of shops and restaurants open in Kramatorsk is 3 times that of the same period a year ago. Wherever we are, we need to work, one administrator said, with a burger chain. This is SRN News.
There's more than one kind of customer when it comes to Shooter's Choice. First, there's the customer who knows what's what, has a pretty good idea of what he or she likes. You're looking for a few things. First, a good selection. Yep, Shooter's Choice has a huge selection. Firearms, ammo, accessories, optics, even gun safes. You're looking for good and fair pricing. Oh yeah, Shooters has been around as your local stop forever because they treat you right. And how about customer service? Absolutely the best you'll find anywhere. The folks who work at Shooter's Choice are shooters and hunters just like you. They know their products. They can answer your question. And that brings me to the other type of customer. Someone maybe more like me. No expert for sure, but wants to learn from the right people. I don't need some big box store guy who works in the shoe department half a week, sporting goods the other half. I need the experts at Shooter's Choice who will treat me right, answer my questions as simple as they might be. They'll make my experience excellent. Online, it's shooterschoicesc.com or visit them in person on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hey y'all, I'm Tim Miles, the mayor of West Columbia. I'm asking you to please vote for me for re-election on November the 7th so we can keep our city moving forward. I love everything about our city, the people, the places, and its history. As we have grown, we've been able to maintain our small town feel and keep our low cost, great essential services, and top-notch police and fire departments. Let's keep it going and keep our city moving forward so we can keep the things that have made our city great.
Have you ever walked in and looked at how beautiful a Lexington Discount Homes manufactured home really is? For more than 35 years, Lexington Discount Homes has helped families find home ownership with phenomenal customer service and a selection that fits your needs and your wallet. They have a huge variety of homes and prices. Come by and visit us at 1847 Augusta Highway or take a virtual tour online at lexingtondiscounthomes.com. That's lexingtondiscounthomes.com.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. Have you noticed the change in weather? Some people call it fall. We call it cigar smoking season. Or better yet, it's football weather. Come in and check out our humidor and do what I do and get your go-to stick or try something new. We've got an awesome staff willing to walk you through and help you find your new favorite. And besides, you're going to need some celebration cigars for when your favorite team wins the big game. The Cigar Militia, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
We are back on Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We heard from Mike Morgan a few minutes ago. Now we turn to another prime-time guest here on Sports Talk on this Thursday night. Time for a visit from Ben Portnoy, the Port Authority. Ben, of course, formerly with the state newspaper in Columbia, covering the Gamecocks Now he is with the Sports Business Journal, covering things all over the country. Welcome in, Ben. How are you?
What's going on, guys? Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Just trying to figure out who Michigan's going to be illegally scouting this weekend to help themselves down the road for the national playoffs. Can you believe that story? I mean, it's taken on a lot of different legs and growing by the day, but that's a story that's going to kind of it's not going to rise to the level, I don't think, of the FBI investigation of college basketball and the seriousness of that. But there sure is a lot of media putting a lot of effort and attention into this story.
I think it's really fascinating on a lot of levels just because, I mean, I know for me personally, like I've been enamored by it, but I think the other part of it is that it's one of those sort of unspoken rules that happens, not to say under the surface, but, you know, one of those things that happens in college football, especially that we don't necessarily talk about, right? There's sort of the game within the game and all of that. And sometimes it takes something like this blowing up to turn into it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic where you have, again, like a thing that happens everywhere as far as like stealing signs and trying to, you know, steal signs at least within the context of the game, not necessarily what Michigan's doing. And now all of a sudden there's all this attention put on it because of a scandal and something like this. And I think it's a fascinating dynamic. And I think we're all, you know, I think everyone's learning in real time very quickly how this all works.
Well, and I think what's added to it, of course, besides the sign stealing, you're right, everybody does it. Everybody knows that's going on the sideline. That's why you see people raising these black curtains on the sideline behind their coordinators or the people calling in plays so the coaches up in the press box can't see it and kind of get a look at what's going on. And that's been going on forever. I can remember visiting coaches coming into Williams-Brice and wallpapering the windows on their side of the coach's box so the members of in the press box couldn't look over there and see what they were doing, which included sending in signals and things like that. Not that any of us were going to be, you know, going in and trying to decipher their signals. But it's the idea that they had this allegedly organized and financed effort to send multiple people out to scout future opponents or the opponents of other opponents. And also the accusation, which has not been proven but has been written about, the possibility, the accusation, however you want to put it, that in some cases they might have been helping the opponents of their upcoming opponents to try to hurt their upcoming opponents. I mean, it's just taking all kind of twists and turns.
Yeah, this is one of those things, again, like I think we see this a lot with stories like this in particular, right? And really, to be fair, there's not really ever been anything like this exactly. But I say that to say, like, when you have a big story like this, you kind of start piecing back the layers and you peel back the layers and you start pulling on threads and it starts to unravel and unravel and unravel. And you get a real idea of the scope of it. I think we're seeing that in real time, right? Like every day, it feels like every 12 hours, it feels like there's a new something or another with this story and some other scoop and some other school that might be involved or some other place that Connor Stallions has been. And I think it's a really interesting, again, I think it's like a really interesting case study in how these big stories get reported out because, you know, the breaking story starts and it happens and then you see the spiral from there. And it's been, there's a lot of moving pieces here. And I think there's a lot of folks who, I think are rightfully upset at Michigan. And I think I would venture to say that this is not the last we will hear about it over the next, little bit.
I would agree.
The Port Authority with Ben Portnoy here tonight on Sports Talk. And Ben wanted to shift gears over to a feature you've done up at Sports Business Journal regarding North Carolina football. And when people talk UNC athletics and they see somebody poured $100 million into it, I doubt football is the first place they go. Probably thinking men's basketball, but the amount of money that they have pumped into the program since Mack Brown's return, I found fascinating and interesting. But aside from that, in your story, you talked about when he was at Texas, he was handwriting boosters in North Carolina to keep in touch and maintain those relationships, which have obviously paid off. But when he was at UT, why would he be writing donors boosters back home in Chapel Hill?
No, it's a funny dynamic, and I thought that was actually probably one of the most interesting tidbits in that story was, it was that and Rick Steinbacher, who's now a senior associate athletic director at North Carolina and sort of Bubba Cunningham's number 2 at North Carolina, who played for Mack Brown. Mack would send him a handwritten note with a signed copy of the Texas Media Guide every year. So I think some of that's just a product of how Mac Brown is as a human. Like, that's the kind of dude he is. He loves to keep in touch with people. But I think, too, like you said, it's a really funny dynamic of Mac was, keeping up with his boosters at UNC, and obviously that's, bearing the fruits of that labor now. And I think it's, again, a product of who Mac is, but also, you look at a lot of those people and a lot of those folks that he kept up with. Those folks are now in, I forget who exactly at North Carolina explained this to me in this context, but basically, like, the point is the people that Mac was keeping up with are now at the point where they have the money to contribute in droves to the university and to the football program in particular. And I think that, that's a big piece of why you've seen North Carolina be able to invest the way they have. And again, like you said, I mean, there's sort of this perception that North Carolina is sort of the bluest of blue blood basketball schools. And it's certainly it has certainly stepped things up on the football side and put in a huge investment there on that side since Mac's gotten back.
You wrote a story earlier this week about what's going on in the AAC with Navy coming in. You were involved in a conference call with the commissioner, and with Navy coming in and how that is going to work. And now you're going to have Army and Navy in the same league, and explain what's going to happen there with the regular season matchup. And I guess potentially you could have more than one Army-Navy meeting in a season, could you not?
Yeah, so, excuse me. I and a number of others reported, and speaking with folks in the AAC and sources in that side of things, that, one of the big pieces of getting Army into the AAC was what they were going to do about the Army-Navy game. And I think that both the league and the schools all recognized that was something that they didn't really want to mess with, for lack of a more technical term. And I think that that was a big sort of linchpin for a lot of this. And so the way that it looks like that this is going to go is that, as it stands, Army and Navy are going to continue to play that game that they're playing, that they play every year in the second week of December. It'll be a non-conference game, is the understanding that I've had it explained to me. It will not count towards anyone's AAC schedule. The flip side of that being that the AAC, when they do revamp their schedule, will not schedule Navy versus Army in separately. If you wouldn't have two times that they would play scheduled on the calendar through the AAC. But then the flip side and sort of the caveat to all of this is that if Navy and Army were to finish 1 and 2 in the AAC, they could go play in the AAC title game in the first week of December, and then have to turn around and play each other again in the Army-Navy game in Philadelphia. So I think that now the likelihood of that happening is probably pretty low, especially when you kind of look at where Navy's program in particular is right now. But I think that it's an interesting dynamic and a big piece of kind of why this was able to come together the way that it did, just in the sense of, the AAC, I think, recognized a value in that, and also, both schools felt very strongly that they needed to keep that the way that it was.
What are you looking at this weekend? You got anything on the docket in particular? Anything set up for next week you'll be involved with?
Nothing in particular this week. I've got catch my breath a little bit before the tail end and the sprint, but obviously should be some really good games this weekend. I'm planning to be up at Penn State and Michigan in a couple of weeks and see some things going on in State College. So that's I guess now 2 weeks away, but we're getting geared up for that and looking forward to checking out State College. Funny enough, for the first time, so it should be really, really exciting.
Yeah, I hear it's pretty awesome, but again, I think Penn State's just a national fraud. Because every year we keep thinking they're going to knock off Ohio State and or Michigan, but they can't do it. I mean, they had their chance at Ohio State last weekend. They can't do it. And now they're going to get Michigan, and they're probably going to lose to Michigan.
Penn State's such a funny dynamic, and I can't remember who wrote this story the other day, so forgive me for forgetting, but the idea of that, like, do we need to sort of temper expectations or change our expectations for Penn State? Because I think that, Michigan and Ohio State have very clearly sort of found their places at the top of the league. And with Penn State, again, like you said, it's sort of, we keep waiting for them to have this moment of, they're going to go out and take it, and they're going to go beat Ohio State and Michigan this year, and this is the year it's going to happen. And it just hasn't come to fruition. And, James Franklin's record against top 10 teams has been touted a lot in the last few weeks. I think he's now 7-17 or 7-16 going into the Ohio State game. And again, it's hard because the defense is great. I mean, the defense has no issues, right? Like the defense held Ohio State to what, 20 points, 22 points. But the offense just hasn't gotten there yet. And it's just, Drew Aller's a super talented kid, and there's some pieces there at running back, but they just haven't been able to get over the hump. And I think that, it's certainly a monkey on James Franklin's back. It's a monkey on the backs of a lot of people at Penn State. And I think that, certainly folks are frustrated, but I do think that they keep winning and they keep putting themselves in positions to win. And you think that, it's kind of like golf, right? You give yourself enough putts, you're probably going to make some eventually. And I think it's the same thing with Penn State. They're going to put themselves into a position to win at some point, and they're going to pull it out at some point. It's just a matter of when. And I think that, again, certainly folks are frustrated by it, but it's hard to buy into it until you see it.
Absolutely. Ben, as always, thank you so much, man. Love your stuff, what you're writing, and we appreciate you being with us to share insight on some national stories that we don't ordinarily get a chance to touch on. So continued good luck to you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Ben.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ben Portnoy, the Port Authority, here on Sports Talk. So Shane Beamer in his call-in show tonight updating injuries, and he said that Xavier Legette is listed as questionable for the game at Texas A&M. Of course, we reported last night, or actually we give credit to Chuck Reedy, who said according to his information, they expect him to play on Saturday, and he's been in concussion protocol. So I don't understand why they keep referring to it as an upper body injury. He's in good spirits. The injury is nothing long-term at all. Why don't you just say he's been in concussion protocol? If that indeed that's the case, which we believe that it's been. Why all the secrecy? Secrecy leads to problems. Why don't you just come out and say, yeah, nothing wrong in saying a guy's in concussion protocol. That's very common, is it not?
It is, but I'm beginning to wonder if the athletes, and obviously you have HIPAA concerns with medical privacy laws, but I'm wondering if the athletes have not said, I think they have to sign a waiver to allow you to discuss their medical conditions openly, and I'm beginning to wonder if they're afraid to reveal anything because it may hurt them long term, say down the road when they're looking to get into the NFL.
Possible.
So much money on the table. I'm not sure that they want some of that stuff to come out. And if he's still in concussion protocol, that's a situation where he could be questionable. He could be good to go. He could not play because if my understanding is correct, he has to go through the return to play process, which is usually about 5 days. And any day he might have symptoms, if indeed he's dealing with a concussion, I think the clock starts back at 0 again. So it's hopefully he's available. They certainly need him.
No.
There's no question about that on Saturday.
Well, Amarian Brown's been ruled out with his hamstring. Vershawn Lee is still out after being listed as questionable earlier in the week. Offensive lineman Tree Babalati is out. Kason Henry, Jackson Hughes, Trovon Ball. They are all questionable. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. They're still questionable, Beamer said. Babalati, Henry, Hughes, and Ball are all questionable. They've had 10 offensive linemen injured. Of course, Juice Wells remains out. So,
and guys, I can't help but wonder if the Legette status is not almost a little bit smoke screens. We keep talking about how many sacks the Gamecocks offensive line have allowed, how many sacks Texas A&M's defense has gotten on the season. Can't help but wonder if at least a little bit Legette is, correct me if I'm wrong, he's the biggest deep threat at this point. I mean, he's a threat all over the field, but especially downfield. So this almost might be an attempt to keep that Texas A&M defense honesty, force them to not just get their ears pinned back and bring all 7, bring pressure every single down. And take it a step further. We've talked about how maybe the Gamecocks will try to attack this A&M defense. I'd love to see Nick Harbor get more involved. You got to think a lot of quick passes, quick slants, quick screens, maybe a lot of checkdowns to Knox. A lot of quick passes are going to be the key to avoid pressure. You got to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but Nick Harbor with that speed sure seems like a great candidate to be able to just get him the ball, even if it's in the backfield. Just get him the ball in space, maybe a quick slant across the middle, and just let him do his thing.
Well, he did play 60 snaps last weekend.
Yep.
So he's getting out there, and he made a very nice catch. So, and he looks so much when he's out there. My gosh, he towers over any corner that comes up to play him. He just towers over him. And I think he's getting better by the game. They still have not yet unleashed his speed. Split him out, let him run a post, throw it deep, see if he can catch it. He did have that nice catch down the sideline against Florida. I think that's when Beamer jumped in his arms or something.
Yeah, when he boxed out a defender because he used his height and size.
Yeah.
Square off the defender.
I want to see him run a deep post and see if he can get behind the secondary with those long legs and catch the football. All right, hit the break. Be right back.
Football season is upon us, and that means Columbia is welcoming fans from around the corner and across the country.
Can Chris hear me?
You're from Gamecocks love coming
Should be able to. Yeah.
that can only be found in
Can you hear me?
Carolina's capital
I
city.
can now, yes.
I had a nice conversation with Banana Jack Murphy.
Oh, was I right about Smothers knowing him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Smothers sent me his cell number. I called him. We talked. There's a chance. There's a chance. He's doing things. He also has an FM repeater for that station.
Did he say anything about the AM signal?
Heads up, don't say anything bad. This is why you always remember, gentle reminder, you always got to mute your.
About playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance. Restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
South Carolinians, this message is for you, whether you or a loved one are about to receive Medicare or want to improve your current Medicare situation. Brian Spencer of Palmetto Medicare is the guy for you. This is Mike Morgan, and I've known Brian for over 20 years. He started Palmetto Medicare in 2005, and here's what I can tell you about Brian. He's not the best-looking guy in the world. He's not a poet. He's not a very good golfer. He can't sing at all, not even in the shower. All of this is true. But here's what else I can tell you about Brian Spencer. There's no one I would trust more with that all-important decision of who will handle your Medicare benefits. Palmetto Medicare is local, specific, and native to the Palmetto State. Any and all plans in South Carolina are available through Palmetto Medicare, and they offer a free annual Medicare and prescription review. So with that in mind, there's just one phone call to make. 803-960-9484. 803-960-9484. Let Brian Spencer do the one thing he is good at, helping people with all their Medicare needs.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit. 803-765-2968 or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, let's say I'm out in the woods or I'm on the water and I need to reach a DNR agent. How do I do that?
Operation Game Thief, Phil. It's been around 30-plus years. You can call us at our 24-hour hotline any time of day, 1-800-922-5431. To report wildlife violations or to get help if you're in trouble in the woods or on the water, call us at Operation Game Thief, 1-800-922-5431.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
All right, ACC basketball preseason poll came out today. Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson. After top five, P.J. Hall voted to the first team preseason team.
For the women, Clemson's 11th, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Louisville, Florida State, the top of the list. The MEAC men's preseason poll, South Carolina State's number 8, Howard, Norfolk State, North Carolina Central at the top there. And the Bahama Bowl going to be played in Charlotte's on-campus stadium December 18th, and they're moving the Myrtle Beach Bowl to 11 o'clock in the morning on December 16th because the Bahama Bowl's moving because of construction at the Bahama Bowl site. So I guess they're adjusting the date and time for the Myrtle Beach Bowl to make all that work.
Just don't have the Bahamas Bowl this year. I mean, 90% of the reason you get excited to go to the Bahamas Bowl is because it's played in, I don't know, the Bahamas, not Charlotte. I mean, come on. Just don't have that bowl game this year. I mean, it makes zeros we're going to play it in Charlotte.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Really? Why? Just God knows we've got enough bowls that I'm not sure we'd miss one.
Hey, listen, don't laugh. We might have a state team having to play in one of those games.
Very possible.
Let's go to very quickly before the top of the hour break. Folks are calling in. Gamecock Larry, he is held on. I sound like Gamecock Larry. He held on there, and he's going to go first tonight. Gamecock Larry, welcome in. How are you? Gamecock Larry. Hello, Gamecock Larry. Maybe he didn't hold on, man.
Well, that would explain why I can't hear the other caller. So Larry and then the mystery caller with an 839 area code. Don't even know where that is.
Yeah.
I'm going to reboot our phone system. Do us a favor and call us right back. We'll get you in.
Are we having a problem? Was that what you're telling me? We're having a problem? Okay. All right. In the meantime, I'll touch on a couple of other things of interest. Here's an interesting story I saw last night. This is by something called the Swain Show. You know, when I say that, I always check to kind of see if it's legit. And this guy's out of Oklahoma, I believe, and he's got 76,000 followers, okay? And he's got pictures of himself talking to some important people, so it seems. So it sounds like he's legit. And he wrote, breaking, Virginia and North Carolina joining Florida State and Clemson in plans to exit the ACC after 2026 for either the Big or the SEC. ACC has no other P4 schools to add, and Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pitt, NC State have already had informal third-party talks with the Big 12. So this is coming from a guy out in Oklahoma. And he's had almost 395,000 views on the tweet. So I give him some legitimacy. I give him the benefit of the doubt. And he's saying this isn't, the way he's wording this, he's not leaving any doubt. He's saying Clemson, Florida State are exiting.
They're out. Yeah.
And Virginia and North Carolina are
going to.
Well, in plans, as he puts it, Virginia and North Carolina joining Florida State and Clemson in plans to exit the ACC. Okay, after 2026. So, well, we got time to worry about that. It's only 3 years from now. Who knows what the situation will be in 3 years?
There may not be an SEC and Big Ten in 3 years.
Who knows what you'll have in 3 years? So, okay, odds to win men's basketball conference championships. Kentucky, Tennessee, 7-2. Gamecocks are 250-1. Duke is 7-5. Clemson is 12-1 in the ACC. Charleston's 2-1 in the CAA. Furman is 2-1 in the Southern Conference. Oh, I forgot to do the Sun Belt, but Coastal's probably down towards the bottom. Be back after the top of the hour break.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF. From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Authorities continue to search for 40-year-old Robert Card, suspected in the mass shootings last night in Lewiston, Maine, that killed 18 people and wounded dozens. Colonel William Ross, the chief of the Maine State Police, says of the 18 known dead, 15 of them were found at 2 locations in Lewiston.
The victims at the just-in-time establishment, 7 people are deceased there, 1 female and 6 males, all from an apparent gunshot wound. Victims at the Schmegley's Billiards, 8 are deceased. 7 males inside the establishment, 1 male outside of the establishment.
Auburn City Councilor Leroy Walker told multiple media outlets that his son Joe, a manager at the bar and grill, died going after the gunman with a butcher knife. President Biden has met with the newly elected Speaker of the House. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
On his first full day on the job, Speaker Mike Johnson came here to the White House for a meeting with President Biden and the Democratic House leader. They discussed the president's request for nearly $106 billion for Israel, Ukraine, and other national security needs. Until now, Johnson and the president had no relationship. After returning to the Capitol, Johnson said it was a productive meeting and told reporters he enjoyed his visit with the president. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' office says the state has arranged to send drones, weapons, and ammunition to Israel as it prepares for an incursion into Gaza in response to Hamas's attack. DeSantis' office said Thursday that Florida has sent cargo planes with healthcare supplies, drones, body armor, and helmets. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 251 points, the Nasdaq dropped 225. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This seems like every day economic news gets more and more sketchy. We're already seeing huge volatility in the stock market and a rapid erosion in the value of the U.S. dollar. But this time, an economic downturn could happen faster than you ever imagined. Direct Bullion USA, America's #1 precious metals company, wants to let you know that now is the time to take actions that may help protect and secure your portfolio with physical precious metals. Want to help protect your hard-earned money before it's too late? Call Direct Bullion USA at 888-787-GOLD and get your free gold investor kit today. Don't wait. Call Direct Bullion USA now at 888-787-4653 and get your free gold and silver survival kit. With all of the uncertainty of a world gone mad, you can take control of your financial future with one call to Direct Bullion USA. Call us now at 888-787-4653. That's 888-787-GOLD.
A federal judge is ordering the state of Georgia to redraw its voting district maps to include a new black majority congressional district. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
U.S. District Judge Steve Jones says some of Georgia's congressional and state legislative maps were drawn in a racially discriminatory manner. He's ordering 1 new congressional district be created and 7 more for the state, House, and Senate. This Georgia case is part of a wave of litigation after the U.S. Supreme Court interpretation of the Voting Rights Act, and Georgia officials are expected to appeal. The judge says if the maps aren't redrawn by December, he will block voting for the 2024 election, calling the current maps unlawful. I'm Jackie Quinn.
The new map could shift a congressional seat from Republican to Democratic control. Views and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear and comfy with a low overnight of 55. Tomorrow, much like today, with a mix of sunshine and clouds. A high climbing up to about 82. For the weekend, tremendous. Mid-80s as our highs. Nothing but sunshine. And that continues through Monday. While on Tuesday, we start to cool back down for Halloween. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back. Hour number 2 of Sports Talk on this big Thursday night across the state network. For those of you just joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to have you with us. You missed Mike Morgan, who was outstanding. You missed Ben Portnoy, who was outstanding. So later tonight, they'll be up in podcast form where we keep our podcasts. So you can check those interviews out then. And, of course, the entire show will be in podcast form for you as well. Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, places like that. All right, phone number 888-898-2525. I promise we'll get back to some phone calls here in a little bit, but we continue with our parade of stars tonight here on Sports Talk. You know, we've heard a lot of grumbling and griping from the Gamecocks, Tigers, not so much out of the camp at Furman in the upstate where things are pretty hunky-dory at this stage of the season. Welcome in Coach Clay Hendricks. His team is ranked as high as number 3 this week in the FCS rankings and playing some excellent football with East Tennessee State coming to town this weekend. Coach, great to have you with us once again. How are you, sir?
I'm well, Phil. It's certainly great to be with you.
Well, I recall our meeting back in August up your way. You thought you were going to have a good team. Has it been better than you thought?
You know what? I don't know. It's kind of been like I thought it maybe could be. I think we've gotten a little better each week. I think we've played our best football recently and probably against the best teams we've played. Really been a consistent group, just kind of how they work and prepare. And, we have a really old, mature group. And, I still enjoy practice. And, and I don't think we've played our best game yet. So hopefully we can continue to get better as we go and kind of chasing a conference championship right now and hopefully even beyond that.
What is your best game? What would your best game look like?
Well, I think, obviously played a really, really good Western Carolina team last week. And, I thought we played really well offensively and defense. We did, probably had our worst day on special teams. Had a couple of miscues, an area that we've been really, really solid in. So, I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm not sure we'll ever achieve it. But, going on the road the last 2 weeks against a really good Sanford team and then at Western Carolina last week, I think a lot of people are not sure we thought we could get it done. But no, won some big games on the road and certainly excited to be back at home. It's homecoming here this weekend, and, and we still got some big ones to go.
Getting excellent play from the quarterback position, aren't you?
We really are. I mean, Tyler Huff, golly, true dual threat guy, tough, great leader. Golly, just he's getting it done with his feet and with his arm, leadership, all that stuff. And I think we are. I think our strength really is our balance. Right now we're kind of a 200 team, and that's having played a bunch of the better teams. And so. If we can continue that, I think we've become a little more explosive. I thought we always had the ability to do that. It hadn't shown up as much, but explosive plays, I think we're third in the country in turnover margin. Defense is playing at a high level. But, for us, it all starts really with Tyler, and he's having a heck of a year right now.
Clay, football coach at Furman, joining us here tonight on Sports Talk. His Paladins playing some extremely good football so far this season, 6-1. And sitting atop the Southern Conference at 4-0. And, Coach, on a personal note, before I get to a question about your defense, Steve Duggan would be remiss if I didn't say hello for him. I actually do the radio broadcast with him on SportsTalkSC, and he was really excited to be up your way a couple of weeks back when you guys sort of honored their national championship team back in the, early 80s.
Yeah, Steve, golly, what a great player, great guy he was. In fact, I was in Sumter a few weeks ago during our bye week, and at their touchdown club, and he was one of the first guys that came to mind. When I came back as a young coach, my first year, maybe he was a sophomore, and we had that great run of teams, won a national championship, and he was a heck of a player, heck of a guy. And, so it was great to get that group back. We're actually honoring Saturday, honoring the nearly 80 to 83 group that won 4 straight conference championships. And our alumni group has always been incredibly supportive, and guys like Steve we have really a unique situation. I'd kind of compare it, with anybody at any level. Just our guys that stay involved, give back, and it's fun to have some guys like that coming back.
To your current team, the job you did defensively this past week against Western Carolina, top scoring offense in the Southern Conference, to hold them to 17 points and really shut down the run game. How proud are you of what they were able to accomplish, not just this past week, but what they've done thus far this season to be the second best scoring defense in your league?
Yeah, you know what? We knew we were pretty good over there. Had a chance to be pretty good. We've been pretty good against the run all year. I think we're maybe top 10 in the run defense in the country. They've just been a really solid group. I thought all along we could be pretty good. I'm not sure. I thought we probably could hold that group down as much as we did. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, people love to compare scores and, we got this many yards against these teams. I always look at, well, who are you doing it against? So I pay a little more attention. What do you do against the better teams? And certainly, our philosophy doesn't change. We're going to try to stop the run, make you one-dimensional, and get after the passer. And I think we had as many sacks Saturday as they've given up all year. We had 9 the week before at Samford. A team that's really kind of hard to get to. And they're getting better and better. For us, we play a ton of guys. And again, we're playing really well. We're playing really, really good complementary football right now. And I thought maybe a little bit offensively we didn't play as well early in the year. Our defense kind of carried us, and the offense has played really its best football as of late. And again, you want to do that this time of year, and I think we did that a little bit a year ago. I thought we got a little better as the year went on, and so it's fun to maybe see what we can do going forward.
Visiting with Clay Hendricks, head football coach, Furman Paladins, home to East Tennessee State, looking to protect that unbeaten run through the Southern Conference. Defensively, you mentioned how well you've been playing defensively, and I noticed that DiMaggio, does he pronounce it DiMaggio like Jolton Joe?
Well, Joe's a great uncle.
No,
actually, so
really?
The same family, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
wow.
If I had the name DiMaggio, I'd claim him too, Joe DiMaggio. He was the SoCon Defensive Player of the Week, so obviously he had a big game. What about overall on the defensive side, though, along with DiMaggio, some of the others who are really playing good football for you on the defensive side?
Well, I'll tell you this, Phil, too. Evans played a ton of football for us. He's a redshirt junior. That was his first ever start at inside linebacker. Again, a little bit of our depth. We're almost kind of a co-starting group, and we're kind of the no-name bunch sometimes just because we play so many guys. But, he had a heck of a game. Hugh Ryan, guy right there in Dutch Fork, just continues to play well. Mm-hmm. Callie Chiswick, that name's Dad's Gene up in North Carolina. Maybe had his 3rd pick of the year. Actually had a pick in the end zone last week. Kind of found a home at that nickel spot for us. I just think you could go down the list of guys. Travis Black's here at the corner, who's had a phenomenal career, and I really think the guys up front. We kind of play 8 guys pretty consistently up front, and even at the linebacker position, got Matt Sachoka, that's guy's been around forever, and again. When you look at the statistics at the end of the year, I don't know. We don't seem to have quite as many guys with as many numbers, but you always feel like at our place, if this guy's not making the play, he's got a bunch of buddies covering for him, and that's been a good recipe for us. Just continue to build depth, and that's kind of how we tried to build our program, and it's paid off for us.
Last thing, we'll let you go. We touched on Tyler Huff earlier, but in your career, you've coached a lot of good quarterbacks running your offense, whether it's Furman or Air Force. Where do you put Tyler Huff right now with the way he's playing? He's among your leading rushers with 480 yards, 5 touchdowns, and throwing the football 68%, 1,237 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks. How well is he playing running your offense as you envision a quarterback running that offense?
Well, I think in the 2 years we've had Tyler, I think he's something like 15-3 as a starter, and the 2 of the losses were Clemson and Carolina. He's like a 1,200-yard rusher during that time. He's completed almost 70% of his passes. I tell you what, he had a couple of runs last week. He's the guy. He had a couple of stiff arms on guys. He's 215 pounds. I think sometimes people will deceive out. Number one is he's faster than people think he is, and he's certainly a little more physical than people think he is. But again, I think for him, it just goes back to the leadership aspect of how our kids respond to him. He's a really confident guy in his ability. He has the ability to make people miss. The run he made kind of sealed the game at the end of the game last week was, I don't know, that's just stuff he continues to do. I'm certainly happy he's playing for us and wouldn't trade him for anybody.
Absolutely. We thank you, as always, for joining us. I think we're going to be talking a lot over the upcoming weeks as we head into November and then December, and who knows. We wish you best of luck this weekend. Thanks for the time. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's always great being with you. Certainly excited. Just need to go take another step this weekend.
Good luck, sir. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Clay Hendricks from Furman doing a great job. Paladins are in great shape right now. They stay healthy.
One game.
Keep doing their thing. Say what?
They've got one game left on their schedule. If they don't get caught, looking ahead this week because of homecoming and everything else, they can take care of business at Chattanooga next weekend. They'll run the table because then they've got VMI and Wofford. And no knock against the Terriers, but let's face it, Furman is a lot better football team right now, and Furman should win the league. That game against Chattanooga in 2 weeks will be for the SoCon title, it looks like. And before I get into trouble on Friday nights, I dated my broadcast partner. Played on the 88 national championship team. I think I said 81. I want Steve to be thinking I believe he's much older than he actually is.
Yeah, let's don't be aging people. Let's not.
Of course, he does tell me he's about as good an offensive lineman as the way he describes himself. So.
Yeah, I remember, Steve. I covered. Well, you said 88, so I covered that national championship team for the network back then. I mean, I wasn't in Greenville. I really covered Furman on a daily basis when I lived in Greenville in 81, 82. I was over there every day. That's how, Coach Sheridan, would get mad at me because of things I would do. But then when I came to the network, Don Williams sent me to cover Furman when they went on their national championship run, and that was fantastic, going out to Pocatello and all that. Didn't go to Tacoma with them when they played out there, when they played Georgia Southern in that all-time classic, but I did go to Pocatello when they won there. And then I went to Chattanooga when Bobby Johnson was the coach, and they played for was that the national? Yeah, that was the national. No, was that semifinals or national championship? I can't remember. I think it was national championship. Last game Bobby Johnson coached at Furman before he went to Vanderbilt. I think that was national championship. So anyway, they've had such a great run there at Furman.
As good as and as good as they are on defense, and with Tyler Huff running that offense, this is a team that should, not just could, should make a deep run in the FCS playoffs.
Absolutely. Okay, we've promised some phone calls, so let's try it again. 888-898-2525. We've got a new updated list, so we go to Tom in Sumter with us tonight. Tom, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing good. I want to get something off my chest a little bit. I'm getting tired of hearing these coaches saying we were one play away from winning. We could have won any game we played in. Not just hear from everybody. Bill Parcells said, you are what your record said you are. There are some games that you win where you were one game away from losing. So, it all balances out in the end. So this nonsense about, we're 4-3, but we could be undefeated, just knock it off and Google search Bill Parcells and see what he says about coaches who say this.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're living in the real world, you are what your record says you are. You can have all ifs and buts, candy and nuts, da-da-da-da-da-da, but in the real world, you are what you are. Yes, sir.
And I just want to stop hearing the coaches say that.
Well, they won't.
That's true.
Because that's how they are.
Well, then they need to say, then he needs to say, well, we were one play away from losing the national championship game, so maybe we didn't deserve that.
Nah,
nobody's going to say that.
They will
Nor
never
should
acknowledge
they.
that. No, they'll never acknowledge how close they are when they, barely win a game. But when they barely lose a game, they will remind you. Fumble here, interception there, missed tackle here. Yeah, for sure. Okay, thank you, Tom. Good stuff. Nobody's going to pay attention to that, but good stuff nonetheless. Shall we try Gamecock Larry again? Gamecock Larry, welcome in. Hope you're doing well on this big Thursday night.
Do you hear me?
We got you.
I'm going to tell you what. I'm getting tired of hearing you. Oh, I don't want to say that.
Go ahead. Say it, Larry. Say it. Say it.
I'm getting tired of hearing you Clemson fans and Clemson announcers down in my Gamecocks. I am getting so sick and tired, but I want them to let Mr. Phil know one thing. I said, wait till next year. I'm not that. I will never say that. We are going to be okay. We lose players, we lose games, we win games, and we going to Texas A&M, and we going to show them what a real Gamecock is. We going to go up there, and we going to come back, and I'm going to go ahead and give you my prediction because it's so crazy phone I got might not let me get on tomorrow.
All right.
This thing cost me $175, and they ain't worth nothing. I tell you what, I had one cost me $9.95. I bought it in Dollar General, and I bought it 12, 13 years ago. Had Scotch tape all over it, and they said they went out of style. But I'm going to tell you, this thing they got here, I feel like throwing it away. Well, I will throw it away tomorrow. I'll get me a phone.
Yes, sir.
Go mute and all that. It's a score. We're going to go up there. We are going to have at least 4 players. Rattler, Dirty, DK, and that running back. I forgot his name. The running back from Newberry. Them 4 players on offense. We going to have a makeshift defense. We going to win this game. We going to win this game 37-24. Write it down. That's what I say. If I don't get the call tomorrow, you got it. 37-24 game. Cox. Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all.
All right, Larry. Somebody get Larry a new phone. 27-24. He likes the Gamecocks over.
Was it 27? I thought he said 37.
Well, at first I thought he said 37, but the second time I thought he said 27. What'd you hear, Pat? Did you hear?
I heard 37-24.
Okay, 37-24. All right, I'll go with that.
That would
Whatever.
be a heck of
if
a
y'all
performance.
say 37. Oh, if they score 37
offense.
and hold them at 24.
Against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
This would be equivalent of what they did against Tennessee coming off the Florida game last year, where nobody thought they had any shot in the world, and they played nearly flawless.
Kind of the problem is they've been so bad on the road.
Oh, yeah.
In SEC play under Beamer.
He's won, 2 games since he's been head coach?
In the SEC, on the road?
Play on the road.
SEC play on the road?
I think that's right.
Was it 2 wins? Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I believe that's right.
But, look, I mean, they with the right people, they're capable. They showed it against Florida, 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. But not so competitive second half at Georgia, not so competitive against Tennessee, not very competitive at all, hardly, against Missouri. Showed a little bit of life in the second half, but put themselves in such a deep hole. They got to put it all together. I mean, you got to have all the elements come together from the get, and especially on the road at a tough place. So maybe they'll catch A&M napping. It's an 11 o'clock kickoff there. Of course, they've had 2 weeks. Maybe their fans are hungry for some football. Maybe the A&M players are going to be hungry. A&M realizes that, look, they lost by a touchdown to Alabama, and they lost by a touchdown to Tennessee. So they realize they can play with the best of the SEC. They're 2-2. They look at South Carolina as a Midland team, and they come in and let South Carolina beat them. That'll ruin their season. it'll turn up the heat on Jimbo Fisher.
It
like
may
he
cost him
hasn't
his
felt.
job. Yeah, you're right. It may cost him his job.
So, all right, back to the phones, 888-898-2525. Keith in Camden, a voice of reason in another wild, crazy world. Keith, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing well tonight. How are y'all doing?
We're fine, thank you.
I tell you what, I tip my hat and wish I had that much confidence, but no excuses. Texas A&M is a good football team. We're going to struggle to get out of there. This could be 38-17, 41-17, but it is what it is. And
at least it'll be early. At least, it'll be done by 3:15. And, you can have the rest of your day to, go do something else like, I don't know, cut down a tree, change the oil in your car, something that takes your mind off things.
Yeah, well, typically I'm working on my sermon during Saturday, and I found out this past week that doesn't work real well, so I'm glad. Yeah, I think I turned the TV off 4 or 5 times, and my wife finally said, look, I didn't call a single play. I don't want to hear it. So enjoy the show, but look, hey, I said 4 wins. I don't even know if we can get to that, but hey, I'll be tickled to death if I'm wrong, and we pull it out tomorrow night, and I hope we do.
Well, 4 wins. They're at 2-5. You look at what's ahead. Worst case scenario, you beat Jacksonville State and you beat Vanderbilt at home, and then you don't win anything else. That's your 4 wins. Obviously, you're going to have to upset somebody, and you're going to be big underdogs. You're 15-point underdog Saturday. You're going to be an underdog to Kentucky, depending on what they do between now and then. I could see the Gamecocks being anywhere from 7 to 10-point underdogs. And with Clemson, they're probably going to be 10 to 12-point underdogs, I would think, going into that one, unless, Clemson takes some more hits down the road here. So you're going to have to upset a couple of people, assuming you lose to Texas A&M. You're going to have to upset a couple of people to get to bowl eligibility.
Well, look, enjoy the show. I'm just ready for the year to end and wait till next year.
And then it's on to what? Is it on to men's basketball, women's basketball? What's it on to?
Women's basketball, I guess.
Okay.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you very much. That's, Lamont Paris needs to give Gamecock fans something to look forward to besides women's basketball after football season,
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Nothing wrong with Gamecock fans looking forward to what Dawn Staley's been putting out on the floor for the past, decade.
Yeah, but there's a segment that, they're glad there's women's basketball. They're fine with it, but they want to see the men do something.
Oh, I agree.
They want something to root for on the men's side. They want to see the men in the NCAA tournament for a change, Let's face it, 2016, the magical year, that's been their only NCAA tournament. Before that, you have to go back to Dave Odom? No, right? Huh? Frank Martin took him in 2016. They made the great run. Who was there before Frank? That was Dave, wasn't it? No. My coaches are all
No, that was Darren Horn.
Okay, well, he didn't take him anywhere. And Dave Odom took him to one NCAA tournament. Help me out.
You have to go back to 2003, 2004 with that was Dave Odom's final season. But they went 23-11 that year and made it to the first round where they lost.
Yeah. So you've had one tournament appearance since 2003.
This century.
This century.
It's true. Yeah.
Come on. That's what I'm saying. The fans.
Well, 2 actually, I guess. Yeah, technically.
Yeah, but only 1 since 2003.
Yeah,
so that's a large gap. That's 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years with 1 appearance. So, no, they appreciate. There's strong women basketball fans. You got that group, okay? But then you've got others who, they're happy for the women, but they want to see the men do something. That's where their real rooting interest is. And they don't, that's why I said Lamont Paris needs to give that group something to look forward to.
Sure.
Right now they don't.
But you can pull for both.
Well, sure you can. Be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear and comfy with a low overnight of 55. Tomorrow, much like today, with a mix of sunshine and clouds. A high climbing up to about 82. For the weekend, tremendous. Mid-80s as our highs. Nothing but sunshine. And that continues through Monday. While on Tuesday, we start to cool back down for Halloween. I'm Kevin Cohen with your on-point local weather.
Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawns. Is it time for a new lawn? You need to start with a smooth grade done right. Then a must is a new Rainbird irrigation system that comes complete with a 1-year warranty. We will then help you know what turf is right for your yard. Tiff Tough Bermuda is a great turf for full sun. Then let the pros maintain your whole property and keep your new grass green and healthy and weed free. At Midlands Landscape and Lawns, we hate weeds. So that's why you can find us at hateweeds.com. hateweeds.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the search continues for 40-year-old Robert Card, the man suspected in the mass shootings in Lewiston, Maine. Authorities describe him as armed and extremely dangerous. 18 people were killed in the attacks, 13 people were injured. Card had been committed to a mental health facility after reporting hearing voices and threatening to shoot up a military base. Conservative talk radio host Larry Elder says he's ending his 2024 Republican campaign for president. Elder said in a statement Thursday that he was endorsing former President Donald Trump. He's the fourth major candidate to suspend or end his campaign following Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, former Texas Congressman Will Hurd, and businessman Perry Johnson. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 251 points. The Nasdaq dropped 225. More details at srnnews.com.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair, their team is courteous and professional, plus they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Hi, I'm Karen Pickard.
And I'm Katie Griner.
Every Tuesday at 8:30 to 9 a.m., we'll be talking about issues that concern seniors and their families.
So join us right here on The Point Radio for the Positive Points on Aging, brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
Shepherd's Glass has provided commercial, residential, and auto glass installation, repair, and replacement to Columbia for over 50 years. Large retail storefronts, auto, custom shower enclosures, and mirrors for that remodeling or new construction project. Visit shepherdsglass.com to see and learn more. Now with 2 locations on Flat Springs Road in West Columbia and Chapin at 855 Chapin Road. shepherdsglass.com.
Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow, I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. Change in weather. Some people call it fall. We call it cigar smoking season. Better yet, and get your go-to or try something new. We've got options through and help you find your favorite. And you're going to need some celebration when your favorite team wins the big game. The Cigar Militia, 18 Life Boulevard. Have a cigar. 9 to 10, right here on the as we talk about issues of your health every Monday, 9 a.m. on The Point.
Carolina playing football tonight on the so you can check it out off there. Or you can watch it now, but have the sound turned down, have Ernest turned down, and listen to us, and you can watch the TV. They're playing North Carolina Central tonight. We're underway. I think there's no score in that one. Got Virginia Tech and Syracuse playing tonight up in Blacksburg. That's Dynamite. Now, coming up shortly, it is time to get from my friends Will Merritt and Carl Hill. We call it Will and the Thrill here on Sports Talk. Gamecock, former Tiger, going at it, counting down to the big rivalry game in November in Columbia. If anybody's going to care this year, the way things are going. No, people will always care. I think a winless South Carolina team and a winless Clemson team would still fill up Valley and Williams-Brice. This games for the people of South Carolina. Carl, welcome to the show. Good to be with us. How are you?
Thank you.
And Will, good to be with us. I know you want to say something about the state of the Clemson program before you take questions. Hang on. A bad connection with you there. It's all popular. Let me call you back. If you don't mind, hold the thought. And I know you sound like you got a lot on your mind about it, so hang on. I'll talk to Carl. Nope, I won't talk to Carl. We'll hold on for just a second.
I was impressed with we could pause in between every word like that.
You know, he's in upstate. He's on his phone. The nearest tower. And so the stretch is so far. That's going to have a little bit better connection. You know, it sounded okay when Pat had him on the phone. I could hear him talking to him, but when it comes to service, it's in and out. It's in and out. Kind of like in and out. Okay. Pat with him, and we'll see how it goes here in just a moment.
There is one other interesting game tonight for Coastal Carolina. But I 9-0 teams in front of Coastal and also hold over the Chanticleers.
Okay.
And keep an eye on unable to play in the final game. Georgia State right now is in tied for basically first place.
Okay. All right, we got waiting on Pat to give us the go-ahead here, and we'll bring the guys back up on the air. Will and the Thrill pending here on Sports Talk, as only we can bring it to you. Will and the Thrill. Maybe not scream into the phone. Maybe talk a little lower. Okay, let's try again. Will, are you there?
Listen, I'm the only.
Much better. Okay, good. All right. The Clemson program.
And not good. And I right now, I mean, I'm probably going to pick a lot of Clemson fans off, just between you and me. Football right now, and the game that we used to win well, and the game where good, turn the ball over. You know, we have terrible execution on offense. Our offensive line is just not moving well. So, really, tell you about where it's right now. And I think the one thing that I can see is that the experience of our staff is rearing its ugly head. It's not good now.
Well, you're not going to point that like Chuck Reed made it, pointing out the youth that you got a bunch of guys who've never coached before having the high responsibility of coaching these positions. But what are you going to do if you're Dabo Swinney?
Make changes. That's all you can do is make changes. But the one thing I do know about Dabo is that he has never shied away from making changes. He's, I mean, you know, and you know, you and I were on the air together last year when he fired my best friend in the whole world, in Brandon Streeter. And I thought that was a decision. But it was one he thought he needed to make. So he makes some hard decisions. He's going to have to make them again this year.
North Carolina Central just struck with a long touchdown pass. They're up 7-0 on the Bulldogs. To Carl we go. Carl, is Shane Beamer in kind of the same boat when it comes to his coaching staff? Or
The answer is yes.
Well,
they're both in the same boat.
Let's let Carl answer. Carl.
Well, yeah, and it's not Shane's fault, and there's nothing Shane can do about it. When you're giving a budget to go out and hire somebody, you have to hire the best person in that budget. So it's not, you can't. That's just, there's nothing Shane can do about his situation. We're not spending the money that Clemson's spending on everything up there. So that hand ties South Carolina just because of the budget our athletic department have for football.
Really? I mean, you don't think you don't?
I completely disagree with that.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, South Carolina's spending more money than Clemson is right now on football. So I mean, I don't think that's the case at all.
I mean, Carl, I have to agree. I don't know the dollar for dollar thing right now, but I look at South Carolina and I don't see where they're coming up short on anything from an expense standpoint.
I made my statement, and I'm going to stand behind my statement. Their total football coaching budget for coaches' salaries, and you look at ours, it's not the same. It's not even close.
Well, now they are paying, they're paying their OC a ton of money, and they're paying their DC. Well, no, they're paying Mike Reed a ton of money. I think they're paying the DC on the cheap because they got, he was already there and they promoted him and he probably took it on the cheap. And I mean, I don't know, CJ Spiller is not making great money. I don't think the wide receiver coach is making great money. Maybe the offensive line. I mean, all these young guys, you pay them less because you don't have to pay them more because they would work for less because they want the job. Now, some of the older guys, I think are getting paid more. But let me ask you this, Carl, as you look at the South Carolina defense and, people are really getting on Clayton White and the failure of the defense to this point and some of the statistics they rank so poorly in, what do you think is going to happen there? What can be done with the hand he's dealt?
I don't think a lot's going to happen. I think he's going to keep coaching and keep trying to coach better because that's what he needs to do. You can't blame. If anybody's looking at last week and going to talk about how bad the defense played, how the heck are you going to play any better when your offense does not? The whole first half, you don't do anything. You're 3 and out. You don't get any yards. You keep putting the defense back on the field, and everybody expects let's just keep doing that. Yeah, we can stop them. You can't keep a person a team on the field that long and expect them to have any success. If our offense would have helped us at all, they did nothing. That was the worst offensive performance I've seen from this team ever. Even against Florida last year, they're so Here's what I say, Phil, about South Carolina. We're a little bit different. All these fans are talking about talent. You look at those guys upstate with all that talent, they still can't win. The problem South Carolina's having right now is it's not a player issue, it's a coaching issue. When your defense, when you tell us that you had a great practice, everything went good, and then you have on a game day, you have fundamental mistake breakdowns routinely throughout the game. For an example, your squat corner won't touch the guy in front of him, and he catches a route before the safety have a chance. That's just your defensive end. When the quarterback's spreading out, he's on the inside, and the quarterback just running. When that happens over and over again, when your players don't come to a proper attack position to make a tackle, I don't care what they're doing at practice, it's not preparing these guys to play on Saturday.
Before I go back to Will, let me ask you this. What's your take on the Xavier McLeod deal that went down over the weekend and this week?
I don't know everything that that obviously transpired.
Well, that was actually for Carl. That was for Carl. Hang on. That was for Carl because he's the Gamecock. You're the Tiger last time I checked. That's a Gamecock question. So hang on. Carl, that was for you.
Look, a kid's got to figure out what's in his best decision, and it's a great deal when that decision goes along with your coaching staff. But if your decision on what you want doesn't go along with your team concept, you can't be a part of it. So for Shane to not tell the guy, I think he was very gracious, but I understand the way of recruiting these days. You want to make sure you give a kid every opportunity to express himself before you remove them from the team. So I'm perfectly fine with it. And it's not. This is not new. This is going to keep happening. Most of the time, the coaches could say, "Okay, you're not valuable. Yeah, we can not because you're only doing special teams, but South Carolina can use this guy to help the football team win football games." And I totally agree with Shane's position.
How about you, Will?
Well, I don't think you ever know what happens behind closed doors because, you're also dealing with young men. And so, there's always emotions involved. And so, and honestly, guys, let's just call it like it is. Nowadays, other people are influencing these young men. They're being talked to with the NIL money and with agents and all kind of stuff. So you really never know what is the one thing that triggers a young man to make a decision.
Well, we've kicked this around a little bit this week on the show after we heard the comments from Dabo Sweeney with regards to the final play in overtime that Cade Klubnik was told to hand it off, and he elected to run the football himself. Yeah. Time is a great motivator, and he's done this once or twice, it appears, this season. Would you sit him, maybe not start him, to try and get that through his head that, hey, this is how we run things at Clemson?
My answer is yes. The greatest motivator in all of football and all of Pee Wee football and all of high school football and all of NFL is sitting your butt on the bench. And you have to coach. I'm sorry to say this, guys, but no one player is bigger than the team or the team concept. And I'm as disappointed as any Clemson fan out there. He was asked to hand the ball off and he didn't do it. Period. So you gotta bench him.
Can you tell me which object you threw at your television when you saw that play happen?
I had a Coke in one hand, I had a remote in the other hand, and I threw both of them. I'm ambidextrous. So I threw both of them at the same time. And then I'm pretty sure I kicked the wall. I'm not 100% sure, but my wife did say that she found a sock in the bedroom. So I don't know what I threw. Yeah. I know I kicked a shoe, maybe a sock, but I do know there was a Diet Coke and a remote control that all went towards the television.
All right, let me ask you this, and we'll wrap things up with the rivalry meter. But let me ask you this, Will. The formation they were in.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Seriously,
awful.
Yeah. That's coaching.
Awful.
That's coaching decision too, right?
Phil, you've watched enough football to know. It was terrible. They knew exactly what we were going to do. Everybody in the stadium, everybody watching knew what we were going to do. And I guess Cade saw something that he liked, but I think the hell of the tape will tell you it didn't work out very well.
Well, I would have thought they'd have lined up in that rhino formation with the two defensive linemen in the backfield, and maybe you go to Phil Maffa, the bigger, stronger running back, to give him the football and just plow straight ahead. You had it first and goal, the two.
I know. I'm with you, bro. I'm telling you, I could have called the play better myself, and thus, I got to go to Target and get a new television.
Hey, Will, touching on something you just said, that you thought everybody watching in person, et cetera, other sideline, knew what Clemson was going to run on that final play. This has been mostly kind of internet fodder, but it is becoming more of a legitimate question. Do you think the Clemson offense is becoming way too predictable, even with the addition of Garrett Riley?
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree with you more because, I mean, if you and I both know what you think they're going to run and then they run it, I mean,
that's scary.
You know, it is, bro. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, we know what they're going to run, and you know, we thought that the addition of Riley was going to be it was going to transform everything, but it just hadn't happened.
All right, rivalry meter time as we go into the last weekend of October into November. We hope it's November in terms of winning games. So, Carl, Gamecocks are 2-5, and trying to get to where they can be bowl eligible. May have to win every game in November. It makes them. What is your rivalry meter reading tonight?
Last week I was at a 4.5. I'm like my other buddies up there. We ain't at a crossroad. We still crossing a bridge. We're still building. We're still happy. We're still building a program that we're going to be happy with in a year from now, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got a chance of beating Texas A&M over there this weekend. I kind of like us a little bit more, but again, I used the word last week. The final result last week, so I'm still at a 4.5.
4.5. Will, how do you feel with your rivalry meter?
Well, I mean, I still think that we're a better team than South Carolina, and the more I watch South Carolina play, I mean, I still think we're a better team. So I'm going to stay in that 6.5, 7 range, just simply because I do think we can out athlete them.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think it's going to be a dogfight.
I think so too, guys. We thank you as always. Great stuff. Have a great weekend. See if your teams can bring home some W's, and we can have something happy to talk about next Thursday night. Good talking to you.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Will Merritt, Carl, the Thrill Chill Hill, here on Sports Talk. Going to hit the break, come back with some recruiting notes. That's probably going to do it tonight as I see things right now. We'll be back after the break. Don't go away.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Do you know the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? The difference could easily save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term care costs. Visit lawyerlisa.com to schedule a consultation today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Honey, you need a trust.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different. It's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program. Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Looking for a way to fight back against inflation? One viable way to help your money stay relevant during inflation is through investing. To a new investor, investing can feel like a puzzle. With so many pieces to consider, it can be hard to know where to start. But with the right guidance along the way, you can put the pieces together to create a winning strategy. That's where Founders Investment Services come in. Our team of financial advisors can help you navigate the complexities of investing and create a personalized plan that fits your goals and risk tolerance. We'll work with you to identify the pieces of your puzzle and how they fit into your financial future. When you're ready to find the pieces to your financial plan, call 866-739-7064 to speak with one of our specialists or visit foundersfcuinvestments.com to learn about how we can help you identify the key pieces to your financial plans. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC, and not NCUA insured. Not guaranteed by credit union and may lose value.
Hi, it's Phil Kornblut of the Sports Talk Media Network. We love our high school football in South Carolina, and we love bringing you the scores every Friday night. From 10 to midnight, we check in on every region across the state with live reports and coaches' interviews. So whether you're in your car after a game or lounging in your den, be sure to dial up the Founders Federal High School scoreboard Friday nights right here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
This year's Carolina and Clemson Jackpot $5 scratch-off tickets give you a chance to win up to $200,000, whether you're a Gamecock or a Tiger. Plus, you can enter your tickets into the Second Chance promotion for a chance to step on the field or the court to win $50,000, $75,000, or even $100,000. In this state, winning the Palmetto Series does matter that much, so get your tickets today. See SCEducationLottery.com for odds and details. Winning and non-winning tickets can be entered. Second Chance odds depend on number of entries received.
Farm Bureau Insurance's agricultural roots and ties to South Carolina farmers have shaped the company's culture and work ethic, providing a unique customer experience. Customers are treated like people, not policies. Now, while other insurance companies may have a one-size-fits-all approach to handling customers, we believe you need to be valued and treated right. Our claims professionals work until the job is done, and our agents still believe in the commitment that comes with a handshake. Call Buddy Bridges, Clinton and Lawrence at 864-923-2174 for all of your auto, home, and life insurance needs.
Have to go quickly here. Final minutes. Recruiting brought to you by Seawells. All I got to say is 3 words. Roast beef Friday. RBF. RBF tomorrow. If you haven't made plans for dining tomorrow between 11 and 2, let me tell you, all you need to know is Roast Beef Friday at Seawells. And for the very best in the catering business, that is Seawells as well. 803-771-7385 is their number. South Carolina gets a commitment, 25 class, their first one, 5'11", 170. Jaden Sellers out of South Florence, wide receiver. The brother of Lenora Sellers, of course. He's been to South Carolina many times. Other offers were Cincinnati, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and East Carolina. USC offered him last December, a couple of weeks before his brother made his commitment to the Gamecocks known. Good player, 39 catches, 827 yards, and 12 touchdowns last season. Injured earlier this year and is out for the season. Teammate of another player at South Florence the Gamecocks are heavily recruiting, and that is defensive tackle Amir Adams. Clemson offered 2024 interior offensive lineman Andrew Dennis, 6'5", 275. Mount Pleasant, Michigan. He's a former Michigan State commitment. USC offered 2026 running back Jaden Hill of Tupelo, Mississippi. Belton Honeypath running back Marquise Henderson will announce on Monday from Cincinnati, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, NC State, and Vanderbilt. That'll do it. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with them. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.